Hello again. My name is Qesheth. I'm here again with the second in this series of videos on the Major Arcana and the paths on the Tree of Life, the path of return. Last time I did the path of the universe, of the world card, the path where the initiate will begin their journey into the spiritual realms. This week, or today, we will be looking at the path number 31, the path that leads from Malkuth, the kingdom, to Hod, splendor. The difference between the Sephiroth and the paths is that the Sephiroth are objective reality and the paths are subjective reality. So when you're looking at the colors for the paths, make sure you're looking at the queen scale. The queen scale is activating. Okay, well, the king scale is activating. Let me repeat that again. Okay, when you're looking at the colors for the paths on the Tree of Life, you want to use the queen scale for the Sephiroth, and you want to use the king scale for the paths. Again, the Sephiroth themselves are objective reality, fixed reality, contained within Malkuth. The paths themselves, the connecting paths, are subjective reality. Again, this is path number 31. The letter attributed to this path is Shin, the Hebrew letter Shin. Its meaning is tooth, which kind of breaks down analyzing, devouring, and digesting. So this is the path where you'll analyze, using the fires of the intellect to analyze the unconscious, to consume these things and to digest them, to let them gestate within. The numerical value of Shin is 300. When broken down using gematria, SH, Sh, equals 300. I, Yod, equals 10. And N, None, equals 50, which equals, when you add all those numbers up, the 360, which is the number of the Messiah. This is a very deep meditation to meditate upon. Shin is one of the maternal letters, the foundational letters that make up all of creation. It is with Shin, fire, Mem, water, and Aleph being air. These are the primal elements before being intermixed with any other elements. These are the pure idea, the initial thought of the elements. The path name is the perpetual intelligence. It regulates the movement of the sun and moon. Now, if you remember from our last class, we discussed the sun and moon as being consciousness and unconsciousness, represented by male and female, and putting them in the proper order. So in this path, you will use the fires of the intellect, the fires of discrimination, to put the motion of the sun and moon into their proper order. Everything has its place. If you're doing one thing and something from the unconscious is bothering you, then it's out of place. You must begin to organize your conscious and unconscious to bring them into harmony with will. The Cruelty card is called the Aeon, and Weight card is called Judgment. The title for this tarot card, or the Tarot Atu, is the Spirit of the Primal Fire. Think about what I said earlier. This is the primal fire. Attributions on this path, there are actually two attributions in this path: fire and spirit. We'll go over some of the attributions to the path and go into some of the further discussion for the deeper meanings. The attribution again is fire and spirit. Perfume, you would want to use frankincense and all fiery odors. You could use pepper, for instance. You use perfumes and things like this on these paths in order to invoke that particular energy into your life. The plants are red poppy, hibiscus, and nettle. The stone is fire opal. The animal is the lion, the cherub of fire. And we talked about that last time, about the four fixed elements represented on the world card. Lion is the cherub of fire, represented also by Leo. Think about this, Leo. In alchemy, the lion traditionally represents the fire male consciousness. So Leo is ruled by Leo the lion is the sun, which is another mystery. And we'll talk about this path when we get up that far on the tree of life. The magical powers that one would hope to acquire on this path is pyromancy, the ability to start fires using will, and evocation. This is the path where the initiate may begin to work with evocation. Evocation and invocation are two different arts. Evocation is the evoking of a form outside of the circle or triangle of the magician. For invocation, you would invoke a god directly into your being. So this is one of the paths of evocation, where the initiate may begin the practice of evocation. This is the fires of the Holy Spirit. In Thelema, the holy book would be Liber 65, chapter 4, which is the fire chapter. These are the fires that activate the waters of the unconscious. Remember what we talked about earlier in the last path? We talked about the path of Ta and the balance required by the initiate to begin to ascend it. These are the activating fires that activate the waters. These are the fires of consciousness that regulate the waters of the unconscious. This is divine inspiration descending, fiery aspiration ascending, awakening of the HGA, the holy guardian angel, the silent observer. The fires that begin in Hakma and burn through the entire creation, symbolized by the serpent that we talked about last time. Hakma reflects into Hod. Some of the practices that the initiate can practice on this path are dharana, which is fixing the mind on a single point, a single focus. We talked about that last time. Many believe that meditation is sitting and clearing of your mind, and it is in a sense, but you're actually just bringing your mind to a single pointed focus. We talked about book 4, the chapter on mysticism, as being a very important study for these original practices. All the original practices in the area of the personality on the tree of life have to do with your personal work. They all have to do with your personal work anyway, but these are the workings of the physical reality, the physical being. Again, the temple has to be made ready before the God will indwell. One of the meditations for this path that you may wish to do is this thought, this contemplation. Controlled fire transmutes. Uncontrolled fire devours. The God name for this path is Elohim. The archangel is Ash Yael. Some of the god forms for this path: Mercury, Hermes, Agni, Vulcan, Hephaestus, and Prometheus. In the body, it regulates the semen, the marrow, and generation. The tools that the magician would use on this path are the wand, the lamp, and the pyramid of fire. This is the descent of the Holy Spirit as talked about in Acts of the New Testament, where fires were seen dancing above the head of the disciples. There's a painting of St. Augustine with this fire of inspiration burning above his head. So inspiration was always seen as fiery, the fires of inspiration. This is the path, the first path, where you'll begin to receive the fires of inspiration. Waite's card shows two figures. I don't know if you can see that very good. I'll back my camera up a little bit. It shows two figures arising from these caskets, these coffins, these tombs, and a third figure in the middle. Two things are begun, a third thing is done. This, and we'll go into discussing that more, it seems to show an angel blowing a trumpet with the four-armed cross of equilibrium. These two figures here are being awakened from the tomb of matter, awakened by their HGA, their holy guardian angel, their silent self, the hidden self within, which is the goal of the initiate to attain communication with. For with this communication, you are no longer lost. You know your way. You receive divine, direct guidance. So this is the goal of all this work. Awakened by their HGA, here represented by Michael, Archangel of Hod, floating on the primal waters that begin in the High Priestess card, which I don't have with me right now, but if you look at the Waite version of the High Priestess card, you'll see the stream beginning behind her. This is the primal waters, the great matrix, the Akashic fluid of the universe. Now the fire is what activates this. In the Teutonic mysteries, there was Gunungagap, and Muspelheimer and Niflheimer. Muspelheimer, the world of fire, and Niflheimer, the world of ice or solidity, stasis. And the fires activate and bring the waters into manifestation. It is the will to form. These waters are also represented, and there's a path that we'll talk about later, by path number 23, the path of the hanged man, whose Hebrew letter attribution is mem, water. Again, one of the maternal letters of the Hebrew alphabet. In Crowley's card, it reflects his teachings on the new aeon, the aeon of Thelema, the age of the child, but the symbology is much the same. Here you have Nuit, represented as a circle, infinity, being united with the point, Hadit, giving birth to the divine child. Again, represented here in Waite's card, the woman, unconsciousness, the male, consciousness, and again, this does not have anything to do with gender. These are just ways of explaining the unexplainable. And the child, which is the product of their union. And again, in the background, you see the waters, the Akashic waters, from which we all float like this, none, which is the Hebrew letter nun. And we will talk about that when we talk about the path of death. Many initiates in their path have heard this trumpet, or have heard a sound similar to a trumpet. that seems to awaken them. If you are pulled to the path of spiritual enlightenment, it's because you have dis-ease within you. And once you begin to do this work, something awakens within you. Something begins to pull you. It's the sweetness of the work, the honey of the work that begins to pull you. And this being unknowable to you, never have you communicated with him, never have that you knowingly, willfully, now begins to awaken and blows this trumpet, awakening you from your slumber in the tomb of matter, from the tomb of matter. This is the path of the primal fires activating the maternal waters of creation, the path of the Holy Spirit, the path where the initiate begins to receive higher guidance from their highest self, represented by Baal in the Egyptian mythologies. There's the dwarf god in Hinduism. This is the unmanifested self, the self not manifested. Hod, Mercury, the divine messenger, represented by Hod, representing the divine messenger. So again, this is the path where the initiate will begin to receive divine inspiration as he goes into the dry Sephiroth of Hod, the Sephiroth of the intellect, ruled by water. On the tree of life, everything is in balance. Hakma, the reflection into Hod, fire into water. Water, fire. Activating paths and formative paths. Everything is kept in balance. You live in a world of contrast. One thing exists because of the other thing. You exist because the other exists. Without the world of contrast, there is no material manifestation. So all things are a reflection of the other. Again, to sum up this path, again, this is tarot card number 20. Number 20 is an interesting number also. 2 to the 0. This is the path of inspiration, the path of the Holy Spirit, the awakening of the divine self, the first awakening of the divine self, as the initiate begins to ascend the tree into higher levels of consciousness. His first awakening of his holy guardian angel, his highest self, beckoning him from the tomb of matter, as symbolized in Egyptian mythology of Osiris in his tomb, being called forth from that tomb of slumber and awakened to a new spiritual reality ahead. I hope this class has been helpful for you today. Again, I would recommend Crowley's Book 4, chapter on Mysticism as a study. Begin your practice of Dharana, single-minded focus. And if you haven't done so, try the practices of Raja Yoga, fire yoga. These will help you immensely in your journey of return. Next time, we will be talking about path number 30. The card is Sun, and its number is 20, which is the number of this card, the Aeon. So this is interesting, the number Resh, but we'll talk about that when we come to that path. Hope you enjoy it. If you did enjoy this video and found it helpful, please like this video and leave a good comment. Again, my name is Qesheth. I am an initiate of 3 different mystery schools. I have been studying the esoteric sciences for over 30 years. My technology is not the best. I I'm not very technologically advanced, so these videos are fairly simple. Hopefully they help you. If there's anything else you would like me to cover or talk about, any questions you have, please let me know. Again, have a good day. 93, everyone.